Can you believe that? That's right. You are back watching this crazy, weird, paranormal-ish YouTube channel, and co-hosting with me, as always, the co-founder of this channel, the amazing Car Wizard. How you doing, Wizard?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Tommy?
You know what? It's always good when we get to sit here and have these discussions on all things strange and weird and preternatural. So I'm really stoked though. Today's a special episode for us. You know what we got coming up?
We have a guest with us, and it's about haunted cars, isn't it?
Well, cursed or haunted vehicles. We'll say vehicles because I think
Vehicles,
we went
yeah.
a little outside the car realm. I have a good buddy who I met here in Bellingham, Washington. He's another Motor Trend producer of sorts. So Brian and I got together, we started talking, and man, this guy has a lot of knowledge about automotive history. And in fact, he even runs a blog about automotive history. So introducing, wherever I'm gonna put him on the screen, Brian Corey. How you doing, Brian?
Great, thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Nice to meet you, Brian.
Yeah, you too. This is just so fun. I'm so glad I can be a part of this.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself. I gave a really horrible, sad, slow introduction. So, give me something a little bit more about like who you are and what you do. And I mean, because you even work at an automotive museum right now too, right?
I do, yeah, part of the day job. But yeah, my background is primarily in marketing and communications and dabbling in television production. But I also run automotivehistory.org, which is This Day in Automotive History. I've been doing that for more than a decade now. It's resulted in a book and a podcast and all sorts of fun content. And then, yeah, I'm actually working with LeMay America's Car Museum in Tacoma, doing a lot of their content production and distribution for them. They also work with the RPM Foundation, and we're doing a restoration show. And so, yeah,
So
I guess
you're
that's
doing
my
a lot
world.
of automotive stuff.
Yeah, I guess that's where I'm stuck. I've really pigeonholed myself.
So somehow, me as a not car guy have surrounded myself with car people, literally right now sandwiched between two car people, which is cool. But Brian and I actually, when we first started meeting, we were discussing one of my favorite automotive mysteries, which is what happened to Little Bastard, which is James Dean's car, the famous car that he died in. And no, not Little Bastard, what my dad used to call me as a kid, although likely true. No, this car was like famous, but infamous, really, because, there's some legends and lore around that and some mysterious deaths and damage. So we'll actually get into that later on in the episode. So, haha, you have to stay tuned. But, we want to start talking some of these stories, and Wizard's got some stories to share. Brian's got stories. I don't have any stories. I gave all my stories up in the last episode. So here we go. Let's I guess, buckle the seatbelt and get ready for some creepy vehicles.
Buckle the seatbelt, yes.
Unless the seatbelt's haunted, because that's also possible. There are haunted cars, and we're going to talk about it right now.
I assume you guys are familiar with Christine of Stephen King fame, right?
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Didn't Wizard you work on a similar car to Christine that Hoovy brought into the garage?
Yeah, he had bought not the Christine car, but it was the same car. He had it for a while. I think he may still have it. I'm not sure, but we played on the whole joke about it trying to attack us and kill us and everything in videos. But yeah.
I believe it's a 57 or 8 Plymouth Belvedere.
Yeah.
Well, there's a car that is kind of the real life Christine, and it's still alive, but some of the people that have driven it are not. It's a 1964 Dodge 330, and it's nicknamed the Golden Eagle. It was purchased new by a police department in Maine, and the first 3 cops to drive it as their patrol vehicle all eventually killed their families and themselves.
I kind of thought that was all Dodge drivers. Oh, sorry.
Just Hellcats.
Oh, man.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. Are you guys Dodge fans? Am I the only not Dodge fan?
I'm not a Dodge fan. No.
Okay, all right. Yeah, you have more class than to make that joke. I apologize.
Womp womp.
Yeah.
But that's just the beginning of the story. So the police department obviously thinks something is up with this car. They sell it at auction, and another local family buys it, the Allens. And the woman who ultimately becomes the caretaker of it, she calls herself a sea witch. She's a self-proclaimed sea witch, whatever that means. But she really loves this car and cares for it, despite its history. But that history only grows worse when a local church group knowing about its history, comes and tries to destroy and vandalize the car. Well, within weeks and months of that happening, after they break windows and scratch the paint and do all this sort of stuff, they all start dying one by one in car accidents, and one of them got struck by lightning. So there's some sort of energy around this car that is really horrific.
Oh, wow.
That's terrible.
Well, let me just interject here for a second. So the Christians, mad at the sea witch, came to ruin her car because the car was supposedly cursed or haunted. And then the car ends up basically murking a bunch of them.
That's what it sounds like. And
don't mess with witches, everybody. Don't mess with witches.
It doesn't even end there. As late as 2007, like this is still ongoing apparently.
Oh my God.
And the woman still has the car, and it's still like hidden, and she hides it around her house to try and prevent people from vandalizing it. But in 2007, a local teenager was dared to touch that car. And this is a true story. It's documented. Within weeks, he murders his family for no reason. So something is really strange with this vehicle.
And again, never buying a Dodge in my life.
There's a lot of murders attached to one vehicle. Wow.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the estimate is between 14 and 30 deaths related to this one car.
Is that a
14 and 30? Wow.
Is that a higher kill count than like RoboCop?
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
Man, it actually could be.
Oh, wow, Brian.
So I know we came out of the gate kind of strong.
I'm not going to say that was weak, but my God. Oh, my God.
I think that the real Christine, the movie Christine, would actually be jealous.
I think so. I think so. This car has no like rhyme or reason. Christine, at least, you know, you had to wrong her, right?
Yeah,
to kind of get the axe.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good count, right? So I think it was 2010, another church group still kind of upset about this car's existence. They broke into this woman's property. It's hidden in the bushes or in a barn, I can't remember. And they take parts off it, like one by one, like strip it down as best they can, and they send the parts to different junkyards. Like really tried to separate this vehicle. And guess what? She went out, she tracked down every single one of those parts, put it back together, and it's still a daily driver car.
That is amazing.
Unbelievable.
The most reliable Dodge ever.
Yeah, right. 1963 Dodge 300.
Wow. So if you come across that on Bring a Trailer or something in a few years, she may have passed away. So just know you could be getting the Cursed Sea Witch edition of the Dodge. Just FYI. My God. Wizard, what are your thoughts about this?
I have questions, especially since you're the paranormal guru with these types of things. And this is a whole other tangent we could go on in a different video someday. But with this car he's talking about, this 330, is it possible that the curses or the murders that are supposedly happening are the result of the sea witch, or is it some sort of malevolent force or a demon or a creature attached to this car that's just enjoying the murders? I would want to dive deep into what is exactly going on with that.
I could give you a little, let's give our audience a taste, because another one of the guests I want to have on is my good friend John Zaffis. John Zaffis is known as the godfather of paranormal. He's Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famous Warren couple of the Conjuring universe. He's their nephew, and he has been a demonologist for longer than I've been alive, that's for sure, like since he was 17, 18 years old. And what he specializes in is haunted objects. So his house is chuck-a-buck full of this. Well, not his house, but like he's got an outbuilding that's chuck-a-buck full of haunted items. He did leave me in there. He did accidentally turn the lights off on me, and it did nearly make me soil myself. But that's another story. And what he's found, and what I found through my research, is that you do run into objects that have either energies attached to them or possessing, for lack of a better term, the object. So you'll hear about haunted dolls, or as we'll talk about later, some stuff with another vehicle of note. So this is not an uncommon thing. Now, could it also be cursed versus haunted? And there is a difference. Cursed is more of like something happened and some sort of occult practice or magic or something was, you know, folk magic can also curse, hex, whatever you want to call it. Something could have been energetically infused into this thing to make the car kind of dangerous for anyone who touches it. Now, I will say, based on the information that we have, it almost feels like there's a consciousness behind what's happening, you know, based on the deaths, the church group, number one, and the police officers. So could it have been, I mean, this is real speculation. Let's go full tinfoil hat here, guys. But could it have been the spirit of maybe somebody that was killed by the officer, or the first officer that had that car? Or could it be some sort of malevolent spirit that they came to a location and it felt like it had to infuse itself into the vehicle and started wreaking havoc? Like, in terms of the paranormal, it's all very possible. So that's my thought on that. We will definitely talk to John about haunted objects. You know, Brian's our first guest. Let's not talk about other guests in front of him. That's kind of disrespectful. I'm sorry.
I have one question that's very related to this, and I was thinking about this as I was, considering different stories to share. Like, I could understand, like, as a skeptic, the idea of an apparition or seeing something that's alive, like in terms of like energy or the electricity that we have inside ourselves. But some of these stories that I was thinking about sharing are like ghost cars or other ghost vehicles that aren't actually there. And so, along the same lines of what you're discussing, how would a vehicle appear that's not there? I guess is there an explanation for that?
I mean, whether it's
or
an explanation you like, I don't know. But I would say
a theory, I guess.
There's several theories out there on what could be reasoning for this. So a lot of people will talk about this idea of a piezoelectric effect, which is somehow if you're in an area where there's a high enough content of quartz or limestone, specific mineral content that is very dense and has been known to like be able to be used to record stuff. So like quartz can be used to like keep time and to record certain things, that somehow seismic shifts or things of that nature can release that piezoelectric energy, which might allow us in some ways to perceive something that may not actually be there or is some sort of echo in time. That's a very far-fetched theory. Another theory that a lot of people are talking about now is that you're actually just seeing through time. So there's somehow a shift in our perception of time to where you're seeing either through some sort of tear, rift, or portal, or who knows, maybe, if time's not really linear after all and it's all existing at once, which we did talk about in our time travel episode, click somewhere around me, that maybe you're just seeing into something that happened before, or something that's happening to come, or has yet to come. So that's the two prevailing theories that I'm aware of, but I'm sure there's plenty more out there, so please drop them in the comments if you have your own theory on this.
That's interesting.
I definitely agree with you, Tommy. I've had people talk about like crystals and minerals and different things, and they just scoff at it. They're like, "Oh man, it's just rocks. There's nothing there. Why does people keep bringing this up?" But I had someone ask me that one time, and I don't get into that type of stuff, but I agree that there's, like you said, they use quartz to keep time and watches. They're starting to use minerals and different things and supercomputers.
Yep.
And I also reminded this person that asked me that, I said, you realize it's two minerals or rocks that are found in the ground that made the Hiroshima atomic bomb. You enrich it and you crash them together, and there's energy there that's not seen.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
and it took us years to figure out how to create atomic and nuclear energy, right? So
Yeah.
who's to say that someone else in the future hasn't already figured it out and they're able to view back in time and look at us?
Right.
Or that some of these other energies, like ghosts, like spirits, like haunted, old cars that don't exist anymore. Like, prime example, there was an instance in Rhode Island when I was going to school where people would constantly hear horse and buggy on Benefit Street, which was an old road that used to be a carriage road but became a street, for lack of a better term, in modern times. So why were people hearing something? Yeah, the horses were real, but you'd also hear like the wooden wheels of the carriage on the stone. So these things were perceptible to people not like me, but normal people, because I'm not normal, let's be honest. So normal people were hearing these things and then coming to me and being like, I heard this carriage and this horse and carriage and I could hear everything about it. I could hear the squeaking. And it's like, yeah, so somehow like we're perceiving either a residual ghost image or we're perceiving back in time to when that was actually a normal mode of transportation in this spot. So Wizard, I know you have stories. Do you want to share one of your stories that you dug up?
Yeah, I have two. That's over the span of the past 20 years. Both of them, actually, one of them takes place back when I was just a mechanic working at another person's shop that they owned. But this one, the first one I'm going to share, is actually one that I've had with me owning the shop at one of my customers. It was a 90s, mid 90s, I think like a 95 Dodge Dakota, just a
Another
regular
Dodge.
pickup truck. Another Dodge, yes.
No, the Dodges are haunted. I'm never buying a Dodge now.
I'm telling you, it's the Hellcats.
I don't know how it's lining up, but yeah, the Hellcats are definitely possessed. We took this car in. It had some issues with oil leaks and things, and that was pretty much all I thought about it. I went to road test the vehicle, and the whole time I don't have the radio on or anything. I'm just cruising along. The whole reason I'm driving is just to get the engine warmed up and see if it'll start producing leaks or do something. And I kept feeling it's just a bench seat, like someone's beside me sitting. I could feel like it moving, and I just got this weird feeling like I'm not alone in this truck. Someone else is here with me. And I didn't think anything of it. I just turned around and started headed back to the shop. And I kept feeling like someone's trying to move or get comfortable in the seat, but there's no one there. I totally lost focus of even doing the road test. So it's like, what is going on? And then I smelled the old aftershave called Old Spice.
Oh, my dad loved that stuff. Oh,
Really strong.
yeah.
It wasn't there when I got into the vehicle. It wasn't there after this experience. It was just like for maybe a minute it was there. And I rolled into the shop and nothing else weird happened after that. We got the oil leaks fixed. The customer came to pick it up. He started mentioning, hey, thanks for fixing my dad's truck. He passed away a couple of months ago. And I'm just glad to get these things fixed. He would have liked to have these things fixed. I want to keep it going. And, you know, it was my dad's. I don't want to get rid of it. And I said, did he wear aftershave or anything? And he goes, well, yeah. And I said, was it Old Spice? He goes, yes, that's what he wore for years.
Yeah.
I told him my story that I just told, and the guy actually had tears in his eyes.
Wow.
And he paid the bill and everything. And I said, apparently your dad is still in that vehicle or with that vehicle or following it. I don't know. I said, that's what my experience is. So if you have it again, maybe it's him. And apparently this guy, the guy that had passed away, really loved his truck. So
He would have had to have, because obviously he's sticking around it afterwards.
yeah, maybe he's happy it's getting fixed. He likes seeing it getting taken care of. I don't know.
That's interesting. But for some reason you were there and Dad felt compelled to let you know he was there by making you smell that terrible Old Spice.
I hope that he was sitting beside me happy that I'm working on his car and not kind of like, if you break my car, I'll break your neck.
Yeah, I hope
That was going to be my question is, you know, he's just
Yeah.
keeping an eye on you, making sure you're doing it his way.
Yeah, exactly. Did you fix that correctly?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. If it's anything like working with my old man trying to fix anything, right over the shoulder the whole time.
So we never had any more experiences with that truck. It was just that one on that road test, and it really brought strong emotion to the customer. They thought that was just unreal.
I mean, that's really cool just because of the fact cars in general elicit so much emotion from people. Like, we all have a car story. I'm currently restoring my grandpa's old Carmen Ghia, and you know, I'm incredibly attached to it. I've spent way too much money on it, and I will do anything for that car, just because of the sentimentality, you know. And so to have that an experience that is that deep is pretty touching.
Yeah, that makes sense. So there is a lot of emotionality around vehicles, which is why, like, I think certain houses get haunted too, to bring it back to our topic, because sometimes a house is haunted because the person loved that property so much that they're still there. It doesn't mean that it's cursed or they're malevolent or evil spirits. They're just like, hey, this is my home. I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this place, and I love it, and I'm going to stick around. Even if, like, I move in later and I'm like, I don't want you to stick around because I don't like going to the bathroom and feeling like I'm being watched. It's really uncomfortable. Sorry. But yeah, so it's fun. Like, at least you can't go to the bathroom well, I guess you can go to the bathroom in a car, but I wouldn't recommend that.
Maybe a motorhome.
Motorhome, yeah. Haunted motorhome. Is that on your list, Brian?
It is not. It is
Oh,
not.
okay. Well, that's right out. Well, anyway, speaking of the list, Brian, what's your next story you got for us?
Yeah, so to shift away from cars a little bit, I was doing a little bit more research, and one of the stories that stuck out to me was the SS Valencia, which was a boat that actually sank just off the coast from where we're at, Tommy, kind of closer to Vancouver Island in the late 1800s. It was a passenger boat, and it got tossed and turned in a storm, and about 100 people were able to get off the boat on a lifeboat and make it to shore, and they were, you know, searching for a telegraph station or some way to call for help because this boat was just getting, you know, tossed. And by the time that they were able to get back out with any sort of help, the boat was already sinking, and close to like 200 people went down with it. And to this day, in that area where the boat went down, people still claim to see like rowboats or lifeboats with apparitions in them, trying
Oh,
to make it to
wow.
shore. And so this was another one that really kind of stuck out to me just because of the visual aspect of it.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, that really catches me.
I used to work with a paranormal team in Southern California called Planet Paranormal, run by a gentleman named Bob Davis and another gentleman named Brian Clune. And as part of the sort of like joys of working with them doing residential cases, one of the other things that Bob somehow managed, I don't even know how he did this, but Bob somehow managed to get us onto the Queen Mary. For those who don't know what the Queen Mary is, the Queen Mary was a boat that was created by the Cunard Line. It was in service for a very long time, and now it's docked in Long Beach Harbor permanently. And it's kind of like a destination. It's a hotel. You can go stay there. It's like super haunted. Probably like of all the places I've been, one of the top 5 most haunted locations I've ever been to.
Wow.
And we had an office on the ship. So we were, for a regular period of time, for upwards of 6-7 months, every week going in and investigating everywhere from the very bowels of the ship to the very top of the ship. One of the things we captured is there was a famous ghost called Jackie, who was supposedly a child that drowned in the pool. I don't know about all that, but we would literally have interactions where Bob and Brian would be talking out loud, and even I would talk out loud, and what we would hear is a child's voice, a young woman child's voice, answering us, conscious, a very sentient entity. At first I'm like, yo, somebody's got speakers here and they're playing a joke. But we were with a security guard one night and we're all like, hey, hi, Jackie. And you hear, hi. And it was so loud,
Wow.
the security guard got freaked out and bolted. And we were on our own the rest of the night. He would not come back on the ship. I think he later quit too. So Bob and Brian have gotten some amazing evidence. We'll share it on an episode at some point. I'm sure I can have Brian come on because they've written books about the experiences that happened on that boat. But the Queen Mary, super haunted. I know the USS Hornet's another haunted one. I investigated something called the Star of India, which is in San Diego. That's also got claims of haunting, although we didn't have much happen when I was there. So haunted ships is a thing. Let me tell you.
Well, the other thing that that's amazing, first of all, that you have so much experience with this. But the other thing that stuck out to me about this was just kind of the like group aspect of it. Like that there's rowboats full of ghosts or whatever the right word is for that. Can you tell me a little bit more about how that might work and like how like group hauntings? I don't know the right terminology.
Well, again, like theoretically, very theoretically, because this is all speculation land, everybody. Aside from the 2 possibilities that we were talked about before, where there's like rifts through time, or you're seeing through time, or you're seeing some sort of like recorded image playing back over again, there's also the idea that in a very highly traumatic event, that somehow the energy of that event is captured in the surrounding area and either replays, or the spirits, because of how traumatic their death was, may not even like realize they're dead. Especially if you're dealing with things like hypothermia. Like if you died out at sea and you died of hypothermia, you just think you fall asleep. The psychology of spirits is like, again, very woo-woo and weird. So I'll try to take this as, I don't want to go all the way too deep with this. I'll stay a little nuts and bolts. But the theory is that as in life, so in death. So the people who passed away from this traumatic event may not know that they're dead. They thought they might have just gone to sleep and woke back up. So maybe they're still on their mission to do that thing, and that's what we're seeing when people encounter them. But it's a little like Schrodinger's cat. I can't.
It's a tough one.
The dead and live cat. You know, the cat is either dead in the box or live in the box, but because we can't perceive it, we don't know. You know, are these ghosts appearing when nobody's there to see them? We don't know. Are they only appearing because we're there to perceive them? I don't know. But again, it's all the sort of theories that people in the paranormal world throw around, and who's to say who's right? You'll tell me in the comments below that you think I'm wrong. So please do that if you think I'm wrong. Or if you think I'm right, agree.
It's nice to have validation.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, we're so open about it here. It's like I've got people that tell me I'm trying to convert Wizard over here to occultism, which is the furthest thing from the truth. I enjoy the fact that Wizard and I have different beliefs because it helps us engage in these conversations and learn a little bit more from each other's perspectives. And like, you know, Brian, you seem much more like an atheist. So it's like, and that may be incorrect. You can correct me.
You're not wrong.
Okay. So your perspective is different than my perspective, which is different from Wizards. But like we can still engage in these conversations and have compassion and patience and kindness. And
Right.
through that, we come to a better understanding together. And that's like the whole goal of this channel. Sorry to preach it to y'all, but like that's the goal of the channel. That's why Wizard and I started this. It was really to like bridge the gap between people and just say, hey, we can all have conversations and it's okay.
Hmm. Yeah, and before I started my story, I was thinking about the ship he just talked about. Imagine the spiritual energy that would be around or attached to the Titanic, even.
Oh, man.
It's multiple deaths all at one time frame, or not maybe the exact moment, but the exact time frame, and the distraught and the chaos. And man, yeah, that would definitely be a haunted vehicle.
Yeah, I am surprised there's not more discussions about hauntings there. And I do wonder if Jack secretly haunts Rose because she could have let him on the door.
Come on.
Sorry. Still upset about that.
Yeah.
It's only been 30 years.
Yeah.
Let him on the damn door, Rose.
Could it be just that it's so remote where the Titanic is that nobody's been around there enough for a long enough period of time to experience?
Yeah,
anything that
maybe.
might be
But
happening?
you would think, like, even with some of the submersibles that have gone down there, that
Literally gone down and not
well,
come
literally,
back up.
now
so-
literally gone down. Sorry, Ocean Gate. Well, just adding to the hauntings, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
it's look because of that. I'm not really going to go investigate any of these shipwrecks. I do have a buddy, Kevin Ote, who's another paranormal investigator and MUFON field investigator, and that's what he loves to do. Like he's a diver. You know, he's trying to find ways to investigate these spots. So, Kevin, if you go down anywhere there in a submersible, let us know what you get because I'd be absolutely fascinated.
I have one more thing to add to that too, from a biblical standpoint. It talks about in the Bible when Christ returns or all these things happen, the details I'm going to go into is that he starts pulling the dead or his followers or whatever. It talks about pulling them out of the earth and also calling forth the dead that the sea has taken and pulling them out.
Oh, interesting.
So does that mean the sea floor is full of just spirits walking around?
I mean, I hope not, but again, haven't been down there.
It's pretty far down.
One more reason not to go in the ocean. Sorry, guys, Jaws ruined it for me. Let's get on to the next story. Wizard, what have you got for us? I'm sure it's actually car related.
This one is back when years ago I was working for someone. This is when I was still gaining my wizard skills and doing everything. I've been a mechanic for probably 10 years at that point. And the local funeral home needed their hearse repaired.
Oh, God.
Here we go.
The shocks were blown out and it had some other issues and an exhaust leak. And in the interior, the dome lights and stuff had electrical work that needed to be repaired. Anyways, they brought it to the shop. There was me and 3 other guys and the owner. All of them refused to touch it. And Tommy can probably corroborate with this. There's some people out there that anything to do with death or funerals or hearses, they're just like, I don't want to touch it. I don't want anything to do with it. It's a curse. Don't sign me up for that. Have you heard of that, Tommy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, I got stuck doing it because that stuff doesn't scare me. It doesn't even bother me at all. I'm actually just like you guys can imagine, I'm interested in those things. I got a lot of work done on it, and then I was in the interior, and I've had some panels removed, checking out some wiring that go to the dome lights. No one else is in the shop. I worked late that night. It's just me. I wanted to get this thing done and get it out because nobody else wanted to work on it. I wanted to do other things. So I'm sitting there working, tracing some wires. It's dead still in the shop, quiet. And I hear the sound of someone clearing their throat, like, like that. And I'm just looking around and I'm like, did one of the guys come back by to say hi or something? And there was no one. So I was like, huh. Anyways, so I kept working. I got the little dome lights back together and everything started working. Had the lights on. And then they just went dead. And I started thinking, okay, what did I do wrong here? Did I blow a fuse? And I had some wiring and some things dangling at the back where the big door was open, the back of the hearse. There were some wires dangling, kind of just hanging there. And I looked over and they were like someone had brushed by them. They were moving. And I was like, man, what the hell's going on here? So anyways, I got the thing done and the funeral home owner came to pick up the hearse the next day. I told him about my experiences and he just laughed. He goes, welcome to my life.
Yeah.
I see these things all the time. He says, I carry dead people all the time. He says, deal with it. That's how it is. If you're going to work on our cars, it's going to happen. I was like, what? I mean, most people would have ran. They would have ran for the hills. They would have been screaming. It didn't scare me. I was just like, this is weird.
Well, it sounds like the beginning of a horror movie. Like, you know, you hear the, and then the wires are dangling. Next thing you know, the car swallows you whole. You know, it's just straight up out of a horror movie, Wizard.
It's 6 feet under.
Yeah.
That whole time, that night after that, they delivered it back to the funeral home. I went home and I just laid in bed and I was like, who could have that been? It could have been one of 10,000 people that were carried in that hearse.
Or somebody who wasn't quite dead yet when they put him in there.
That reminds me of the Monty Python skit. I'm not dead yet. It's like, you will
Yeah.
be. Yeah, it's funny. And like the auditory stuff, for people that haven't had these paranormal experiences, there's nothing creepier than, I've been on so many investigations where it's like I hear a growl or my name in my ear and you can feel the breath. It's not just hearing it, but you can feel the force of the air as if they're saying it or doing it right in your face. And it's like, that's scarier than almost anything else. And it's
That would
like
be scary.
insane how frequently that happens on cases, honestly. But yeah, it's a creepy experience. That's a good one, Wizard. I like that.
Yep. I had an auditory and some kind of physical movement of the wiring.
Yeah.
Do you remember what kind of hearse it was?
Yeah, it's a Cadillac.
Ask that.
What was that?
Of course you would ask
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It was a Cadillac DeVille hearse.
Oh, yeah. That would be like the most haunted.
Like a
hearse.
2002 or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's fairly new-ish.
DeVille
Yeah.
sounds like a haunted word.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I kind of always wanted a hearse, honestly.
Same.
I would say it's in my bucket list of things to own at some point. It's like Aston Martin, hearse.
Like a
I could
Ghostbusters
see
hearse.
you one.
Or...
I could see you in one, Tommy. I could see you totally in one. Grow your beard out, have a nice black hat on, a black
Oh.
suit.
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't know if I
yeah.
could go full steampunk or goth with it, but I mean, it just, they're very functional. I mean, I could keep a lot of equipment in the back of a hearse.
See, that's a
You
good way to
could.
look at it. You're
Yeah.
very logical.
Yeah, exactly. And it's even got the gurney thing for pulling out bodies. I just put like C-stands or production gear on that and just slam it back in, you know? I mean, it's hey, you got to have life goals.
Really makes all your gear accessible.
Yeah, exactly.
I like where this
haunted.
is going. I think we should just buy hearses and outfit them for productions.
Yeah, I mean, why are we using Sprinter vans when hearses exist? Come on, everybody, get with the program.
All joking aside, it's actually a problem for funeral homes is finding someone to fix their hearses because of this. What we just talked about with Tommy is people are deathly afraid. They either think they're going to get cursed, or they're going to be next, or they're going to see something they shouldn't see, or the idea of bodies being in and out of that is just gross to them, and they just don't want to touch it.
It is, but at the same time, like, we're all going to go there someday. None of us have escaped it so far. So,
I mean, and the same goes for, ambulances and other emergency vehicles. Like, it is weird to think about. I mean, just the chaos that can happen in a vehicle.
I'm sure there's haunted ambulances out there. Do any of you have a haunted ambulance? Just let us know, because I'm actually curious about that. But getting back onto the show topic, haunted vehicles. Wizard, that was an awesome story. But we're going to let Brian take us home. And this one is kind of near and dear to my heart because it's, again, one of the reasons Brian and I started talking and working together. And that is the tale of Little Bastard.
I'm anxious to hear about Little Bastard. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those stories I think a lot of people hear in passing but might not know a lot about. It all begins September 30th, 1955. James Dean is driving his brand new 1955 Porsche 550 from the Los Angeles area north to Salinas for a race. Just finished filming Giant. He'd been in, automotive racing for several years. He was only 24 at the time. So he's breaking in the car. They're driving up to Salinas, and about 5:45 at night, a car turns in front of him as they're going down the highway, and he broadsides it in this, tiny little roadster of a sports car. And dies almost instantly. He had a passenger with him, his mechanic, who actually survived. The person in the other car, Donald Turnipseed, I believe is his name. He was driving a 1950 Ford two-door. He survived. So Dean was the only fatality of this accident. But the car itself is really what launches us into the story. And it starts with a doctor who was a race car driver, acquired it from the insurance company, took the engine out and distributed some of the parts to some of his other racing buddies. And one of those friends had like the rear end in his car. I don't know what make or model it was, but he died in a race like not too long after installing that.
Oh,
and
man,
so was
yeah.
born the curse of Little Bastard, which I should mention, as you said earlier, that is the name of the car that was painted on the trunk.
Right. Literally painted on it,
Yeah.
Little Bastard.
Yeah.
But I mean, what a great name, and also great for the story because now you have a cursed little bastard.
Right, right.
I get to say that phrase. That's amazing.
There's another transaction of the vehicle. It ends up in the hands of George Barris, the famous Hollywood car customizer, and he decides to parade it around the country as kind of a highway safety exhibit, thinking he can capitalize on the fact that it was James Dean's car and just the brutality of it, and he'll pretty much do anything to make a buck at this point. There's a lot of stories during its transportation, from space to space that come up, such as it spontaneously combusting in a warehouse, and it was surrounded by other cars, but only that car caught on fire. There's another one where the car was being loaded onto a tow truck and it slipped off and crushed the tow truck driver.
Yeesh.
And so
Ooh.
this legend of this curse, which I know you mentioned earlier, there's a difference between like cursed and haunting. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that, but it just keeps growing with these different stories. And some people say they're just absolutely not corroborated. There's no way that they could be true. But that's kind of the fun of the legend, right? Is being able to believe in it. But it gets really strange in 1960. The car's kind of lost its appeal. It's been on tour for a couple of years now. And so George Barris decides to bring it back to Los Angeles, and it was currently in Florida. And so somebody loads it onto a box train, a sealed box car. And when it gets back, they break the seal, open the door, and the car's gone. And that was the last time anybody ever saw it, was when they put it on that train, supposedly.
Dum dum dum.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
And so, I don't know, nobody knows where it is. And I think that there's just so much appeal surrounding that car, just because, like I said, it's James Dean's, but the curse that it supposedly has, and it's also a Porsche, and they're really expensive.
Yeah, those are not cheap cars.
Even
and they're very
crashed.
sought after cars.
Yeah.
But here's the funny part. So like the transaxle ended up in the hands
Right.
of, and I hate giving our tight black t-shirt friend some credit, not friend is a loose term, but Zach Bagans bought the transaxle from a gentleman in Boston, and that is now in his paranormal museum. So if it wasn't cursed before, it certainly is now.
Definitely is now, yes.
Right. And then, so the engine, if I'm remembering correctly, the engine is still in the hands of the family, the doctor
The
who bought
doctor
it.
family still has it.
So we don't know what's going on there. They don't really talk about it.
And there's supposedly like a piece of the body that somebody had stolen from the accident site that's on display at like an oddities museum in Illinois somewhere. But there's no proof that it actually came from that car.
Yeah, and because you can't check a VIN number on a piece of a body, it's
Right.
like, who knows? But there's
Yeah.
also a story. So the reason Brian and I wanted to do a documentary on this, and we're still working on it, we just got to get funding. But like,
Give me all your money.
there is a potential that the remaining pieces of the frame and chassis somehow ended up in Washington State. And that's as much as I'll give away. We know more, but we're not going to say more because we want to save it for the doc. So sorry, everybody. But Brian is the brainchild here, and I'm just a production guy. But like, there's enough factoids that could really lead us to believe that the rest of the car is here. Now, how cool would it be to find it? Number one. Number two, then would we be able to do a paranormal investigation of the chassis and frame and see if it is actually haunted?
Well, also, there's $1 million bounty on it.
Oh, well, that sounds good too.
But
So-
Yeah, that
in
does
reality,
sound
that car's
good.
probably worth way more than $1 million if you were to find it. I think the transaxle, when it sold, went for like $400,000.
Oh, well, if we find it, hey, if you chip in for the movie, split the proceeds. Hey, no promises though. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of a super fascinating tale. Like even I, as a non-car guy growing up, I heard of the curse of Little Bastard. So it was so prominent that even somebody who knows nothing about cars until he started working on car shows and hanging around Wizard and Brian here, I literally was like, oh, this is a super fascinating story. And I think it's just such an amazing piece of automotive history. And again, like a huge part of this legendary zeitgeist.
I think that I would like to investigate it or find out information about it, but I don't think I would ever want to have any of the pieces or parts because of I guess that would be weird in that aspect. That what if I took possession of this item and then next week I'm killed?
Yeah,
You know,
that's
it's been
fair.
happening.
That's fair. I've dealt with enough haunted items where I feel like I could probably get away with it. Maybe.
Maybe.
I'll stick close to you.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if we can find it. We're gonna try, because that's what we're doing. You know, with all the free time I don't have. Like Brian and I are really gung ho about this project. So like the goal is to like get back into it and really dig deep and like the research that we've been able to dig up so far. We even were in touch with somebody that supposedly saw it when they put it in the when they hit it here. And it's like it's pretty nuts, like the weird rigmarole and like all the odds and ends pieces. But we'll have to avoid the black t-shirt gentleman, so I don't want to interview him at all for the project. So sorry.
So if it actually does get found and it brings us all this fame, do we get to graduate and move up to tight black t-shirts as well?
I guess we could. I mean, that's fair. I hope at least, if nothing else, we'd be able to share about it on the channel here. Share about it? Is that share what we found about it on the channel?
Mhm.
There we go. My
Yeah.
English will get better. And and bring it all to you guys first, and as much as we can, so the documentary is still a viable thing. Not to be a marketing agent here or a producer, but like,
Gotta do what you gotta do.
got to do what we got to do. Exactly, Brian. There's some fun car stories for everybody out there. And if you have haunted car or vehicle stories, please go into the comments and share them. We've been reading a lot of the great comments you all are leaving and some of the personal stories that you guys have shared, especially after our True Paranormal Scary Stories episode. A lot of folks were brave enough to share their encounters with the paranormal, and it's awesome. We get to read it and enjoy it. And for folks that have said they have some evidence of stuff, maybe we share that on the channel eventually too, if we're able to and we have the right spot for it. So thank you all for doing what you do. I do have some viewer questions. Brian, would you sit around and wait for some viewer questions?
Let's do it.
Okay. So first question comes from Dream Girl Will, and they write, wait, I need to know more about black lights disrupting the ability to manifest. Why? How does that work? Great question. So I mentioned this in an episode. Do you remember what episode, Wizard, it was when I talked about the black lights? Was it the True Scary Stories?
Yeah, I think so. And you had mentioned you had a story about a demon that you were trying to deal with, and you used black lights. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a protocol I give to a lot of my clients that are under demonic oppression or heavy oppression from paranormal forces. And Brian is starting to realize how crazy I am now. So if you see his eyes get really wide in camera, this is the first time he's hearing any of this from me at all. So the reason we think it works, it's hard to say. Like Barry Fitzgerald he still is a paranormal investigator from the Ireland, and he's done a lot of research into light spectrums. He found a lot of great evidence was happening in the UV light spectrum. Something that I sort of naturally started doing is I felt like, well, if people are, like say animals they're able to see into the UV or infrared spectrum, like would those lights then be able to disrupt the activity? So I started using black lights as a way, like actual, like full-on UV black lights, not just the painted ones that you buy at Hot Topic, to try to disrupt this activity, because if they're manifesting in that, then maybe this will disrupt their ability to manifest fully. And it seems to work really well. So that's why I do it, because it just sort of was one of those things that I happened upon in the research and have tried it out on enough cases and have seen results that I feel like it's credible enough where it's not like it costs an arm and a leg to buy these and give them to clients or have clients buy them on their own. And it's something they can do in their house to feel empowered and feel safer and more secure and give less fear to whatever they're experiencing, whether it's preternatural or totally natural and a real phenomenon. So that's why we do it. And I found a lot of good results with that. And actually rare earth magnets, it's another one that people seem to use and it seems to help. But the black lights for me have been a tried and trusted way of doing things.
I think I'll have something to add to that. There's a belief, some people believe that spiritual beings are light themselves. They exist in a realm of a spectrum of light, not visible to us. And when they manifest us, they're transferring from that realm to a physical realm like us, or invisible, something that we can see. Yeah. At least maybe they're changing from one spectrum of light over to a visible spectrum, and the black light kind of disturbs and makes that not work for them.
Well, in the same way we talked about shadow entities before too, where like people will see a shadow and they're like, oh, it's demonic. And it's like, no, it might just be whatever is there is just trying to manifest, pulling whatever energy it can. So we notice
Right.
cold spots when there's paranormal activity around. So they're probably drawing on the heat. Could they also be drawing on the light? And that's why it looks like shadow. So yes, again, all theories, all tinfoil hat, but that's why you come here. You like the tinfoil hat or you like to make fun of us. Either way, you're here. So thank you for watching.
The only
Yes,
the only thing I've ever found with a black light was on a hotel remote.
Oh yeah, don't do it in the hotel.
Don't do that.
Yeah, no, that's a bad idea. And if you stayed in some of the places we did on car issues and Car Trek, you never want to blacklight those rooms. No. Next question is from, this is actually, I can't believe we're saying this. U.S. Government 4318. I doubt you're a government official, but if you are, I don't think we've done anything to be on the NSA's naughty list, have we? All right. Wizard, I think this is a you question. It's a Bible thing, and it's pretty long, so we'll try to shorten it in the graphic below. Since the Bible states that Satan and the fallen angels were cast to earth, does that mean the other planets and other solar systems don't have sin or temptations for sin, as there wouldn't be any Satan or demons to tempt? Also, since Jesus was crucified on earth, does that mean beings from other solar systems can't go to heaven, as Jesus died and rose again on earth? And how would heaven work for these beings?
I have a pretty good answer for that.
All you. This is all you.
Okay. From a biblical perspective, God is created everything. All universes, all planets, all stars, everything. And it could be that the whole Christian Jesus story is something that pertains to humans on Earth, and that was their way. I guess I don't know how to put it, but that's our story. That's what worked for us. Whatever happened on somewhere in the universe on another planet may have a different story. Whatever they went through, there may have been a different way that God found for them to find salvation or whatever. I would find that the Jesus story applies to Earth and only to Earth. And there's also some Christians that believe that humans are the only sentient beings, flesh and blood type of beings. They would not agree that there are aliens or other creatures or other beings. It's only humans. I don't believe that. I believe if God created us for his glory, he could create 5,000 other civilizations for his glory. It would be interesting to learn on planet XC7135 or wherever, somewhere else. What is their story? We don't know that yet. We haven't contacted those people. But I would find that they may admit to that there's a higher power, but their story would be different than ours.
I guess that makes sense. So you're saying that while Jesus on planet Earth was the salvation of sins for Christians here, that there's maybe some other situation that redeemed, or is a path for redeeming the spirits of other beings on other planets. Because I know we did, like you had mentioned in one of our episodes, I believe it was the Giants episode, where you talked about like how there were other flocks. I think when somebody asked about Cain and Abel, the Cain story. So I guess that does seem to leave the door open if you interpret the scripture that way.
Yeah, it definitely does leave the door open. And like I said, I believe that we are not the only created beings. I believe the universe is, you can't even measure it. It's so big, it's so wide. And there's billions of stars. Each of those, our sun is a star, and there's billions of those all over the place. It's hard to believe that, I find it hard to believe that we're the only sentient beings. So, yeah, it'd be interesting if we met other beings from other planets to learn their story. One final thing I'll add to that is that in the Bible it says Jesus came down in the flesh to take care of the situation here on earth. He ascended back into heaven in a spiritual form. Maybe he went to other planets. I don't know. I don't know if he'd have a different name or a different identity or a physical appearance, or who knows.
Hopefully that helps you, U.S. government, but probably not really U.S. government. Maybe you are U.S. government. I don't know. Next one is from, oh boy, and he told me how to pronounce this in the comments, and I already forgot. Magnate Axia? Question mark?
Good luck with that.
Last time I called it Magnatitaxia, and that was like way off. I think it's Magnate. Let's go with Magnate for now, and please correct me again if I got it wrong, because I'm sure you're going to ask more questions, and I want to make sure I get it right eventually. So, new running gag, everybody.
Okay, Tommy.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if Brian, if you're wondering, what the hell did I just walk into here?
Well, at least this isn't a drinking game. We'd all be in trouble. Magnate writes, Tommy, Ouija board, great party fun or gateway for the demonic. And I saw my wife had commented on this. She actually was going to write a question for today too. So as my wife said, it's kind of like we'll call it the danger zone.
Yeah.
Because you don't know who you're contacting. Like sometimes it's just people messing around and it's nothing. I've seen Ouija boards that move on their own, like the planchett's moving with nobody touching it. So I know sometimes, like anything else, they can be used. Going back to my background in demonology, it's like anything that is an invitation for something to interact with you generally is not a great idea. So people will argue with me about this all the time in the paranormal community. They're like, you know, we all go in and do EVP recording. You're absolutely right. There's not much difference between a Ouija board and EVP. The difference is the Ouija board and the EVP sessions, a lot of times people will end their EVP sessions like you should end a Ouija board session. It's a lot easier to say, okay, we're done communicating, we're turning off our recorders, thank you for your time. We disconnect ourselves from you and from this place and from the energies here and turn it off, right? Ouija board, you kind of have to say the goodbye thing, but a lot of people just don't, and then stuff happens. Like I've had a lot of cases that have come from somebody saying, well, I used this Ouija board and stuff got weird, and then it was quiet for a few months, and then it got crazy. And it's like, well, yeah, did you say goodbye? No, why would I say goodbye? Because you didn't end the ritual. It's a ritual. Like that's what's happening. I know it's sold by Hasbro, but it's still a ritual. So, or is it Parker Brothers? Whatever, whoever owns the rights to Ouija.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's worth doing. Like, is there a reason you're doing it? Like that's what you should ask yourself. What are you trying to get? Why are you trying to get it? And do you really need it? Because like most of the time you don't. So I would say avoid it where at all possible. Thank you everyone, including my wife. I love you. And thank you to all of you who come and watch this pretty regularly with us. And we're really excited that, you know, in the matter of 9 months we've been doing this now, Wizard, I think.
Yeah, 8 or 9, something like that.
8 or 9 months, we're up to almost 8,500 subscribers, which, you know, when we first started this, I actually didn't think that was possible. So you guys have made this happen. And, you know, thank you to Wizard for believing in me and this project to like keep coming back and talking weird, crazy stuff with me on a regular basis. So thank you, Wizard.
I enjoy doing it. It's fun. Exploring all these. I enjoy the conversation with you and the topics. Also, having a conversation with our viewers. It's very fun.
We also want to thank our guest, Brian Corey, who, again, dear friend of mine. Thank you for sharing those stories, man. That was really fun. And the Valencia was a fun one to hear. I didn't, was that it, Valencia?
Yeah, the SS Valencia.
Hey.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I mean, it's great to be here, and I'm happy I can contribute.
Yeah, and please check out his automotive history vlog, This Day in Automotive History. It is well worth the read. That's actually what started our whole endeavor with the James Dean documentary. Was I read his blog on it, and it's so cool, man. It's fun to have another car person up here who's also another television person, because it's a small community in Washington, as you can imagine.
Let's make stuff.
So thank you all for watching. Please don't forget to, what is it, Wizard? Tell them to...
They need to like and subscribe, and let us know some more questions in the comments if you have questions you'd like us to answer on these future videos so we can have more conversations together.
Put it all down below. It helps us out. And thank you all for watching. And that's, can you believe that? Could you believe that? All these haunted vehicles out there. Now I'm going to think twice when I get on the next flight out of Washington. So thank you, Brian.
Hey.
Haunted planes, my God.
I have a plane story if you want to stick around.
Oh my God, do you really?
Eh.
All right.
I mean, I do, but...
We'll save it for another day. Thank you all for watching. What? No, one hand. I got to tie the hands down so I don't do the double hand thing. Do the queen wave though.